Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Abrasive Noise podcast. I am your host Luke Parsons, and on our show today is a very special guest. On today's show we have Nikita from Svn Seeker, an American melodic death metal band from Bristol, Connecticut, which means this is the first band on our show, so I'm really excited for you to hear this one. As this was my vision when I started this podcast, getting bands on to talk about the cool shit they're doing, and now it's happening.
It's all coming together. It's all coming together. This is it.
Thanks very much for joining me today, Nikita. So to start off with, could you just introduce yourself a bit and talk a bit about Svn Seeker?
Sure. So my name is Nikita. I like long walks on the beach and salty sweets. No, I'm a vocalist, guitarist, kind of like all around behind the scenes guy behind the Svn Seeker, aka Svn Seeker, aka Svn Seeker. Those are the main three pronunciations so far. I haven't found any more. But yeah, I did for at least this EP, I do a majority of the songwriting right now. I do handle like band management, I guess you would say. So mostly organizing bookings, doing the social media stuff, a lot of the nitpicky behind the scenes stuff. That's fun. Yeah. I do the yelling noises with my mouth. I do the woodly woos and chugga chugs on guitar. That's really the bulk of it. I kind of do a lot of the work, although I've been trying to split up with some of the behind the scenes stuff with more of the band, because man's got to sleep.
Yeah, that sounds pretty full on.
Yeah, it is. But I've seen a couple of people in the music industry talking like, yeah, usually it's like one or two people in the band who take on the brunt of the work, and the other guys kind of play their music and do what they can, but for the most part it's one or two people. So right now it's myself and our drummer Pat. He's been doing a little bit more work now that his work schedule's a bit more stable, so he's been doing some more stuff behind the scenes with me and helping me out with like more of the accounting part, I guess, now that we have more merchandise and worrying about how to manage inventory and such.
Yeah, sounds very rock and roll.
Oh yeah, no, doing inventory and spreadsheets, man, that's the life. Oof. Cocaine? Cool. No way. Me Excel.
Yeah. So your debut EP came out in February, Means to an End. It's an EP I liked a lot, just to throw that in there.
Appreciate you.
So how did you find the reaction to that? Sort of how's it sort of gone over these few months?
Pretty well, honestly. I'm really I don't want to say surprised, but I'm also trying to be less hard on myself. I'm very happy with a lot of the response we've gotten. It's been mostly positive. I wasn't expecting this to be I wasn't really expecting it to be, a game-changing record or anything, or like something that's going to be a must listen, but I've definitely been humbled and happy with a lot of the positive response we've gotten. I think there's only one review that was like mildly not so much negative, but he was very critical. And to be honest, like, I appreciate any actual constructive criticism. It's been nice. I haven't seen anyone being out and out mean or rude about it, which is nice, because I was definitely waiting for some of those reviews.
Yeah.
But no, for the most part, we've had a pretty good response for the people who've listened to it. Anyways, from the reviews we've seen and the copies we've sent out. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's nice. It's just now I have to kind of try to live up to it, and it's it's like, I know it's not, it's nothing like not like a big 10 out of 10 must listen to record or whatever, but at the same time it's like, well, hope the next one doesn't suck, because the ideas I have are same but different, and hopefully people still like it. But at least for this one, they enjoy it, so I'm happy about that.
Cool. That's good that you're sort of working stuff. So you're working on new stuff now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been a bit harder just because of life in general.
Yeah.
ruins any prospect of me being productive, really. But I'm trying to get back into that to get back to writing riffs. I just finished up like the basic works of at least one song, and I have ideas jumbling around. It's just a matter of sitting down, plugging the guitar in, and just getting those ideas down in a tangible form to really work with. But there's still stuff rattling around in the brain for now.
Awesome. So, yeah, did you record the EP during lockdown, or was it sort of before that?
It's funny. It was actually right before. So we started doing recording on January 25th of 2020.
Okay.
So it was around my birthday time and right before things really started to get hot and heavy with lockdown. We managed to get a bulk of the recording done. I think we had to finish up the last bits of leads and vocals afterwards. I think it was leads and vocals. Yeah. We had to do like the last bit afterwards. It was kind of like a couple of months break between the sessions because at that point our engineer bought a house in North Carolina and he's actually moved down there completely now. And so he was kind of going back and forth between the house and here and doing some stuff here. And I had a couple projects that he was working on with a couple of bands that, funnily enough, we're friends with here in Connecticut. But then also, excuse me, working on his house down there and trying to get the studio set up there too. And it ended up him kind of, between his own personal stuff and what have you, he it took a little bit of a while. We had to take a little bit of a break between doing the bulk of the recording and then him finishing it up. But
Okay.
at one point he was kind of like juggling, I think, 2 or 3 projects, and he was talking to me like, "Oh, I'll I was trying to mix you guys and this other band at the same time," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 don't you do that. Like, we don't have a record label, we don't have any sort of external obligations. So like I'd rather him take the time for every record he has and just kind of like work on those before he get to us, because I'd rather him be 100% for not even just us, for like everybody else that he's working with, because then I just don't want that to be a case of like another band is unhappy with their mix or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
So we were being super lenient, and I got I just realized I never said his name. So we worked with Dave Kaminsky of Studio Wormwood. And I have to mention this every time. The man is like, we couldn't be happier with our experience and the result with recording with
Mm.
him. The dude was, especially with it being our like first real professional recording. I think only the other person was our bassist Rob, recorded with his other band, and that was, it was different style of music slightly, and he was playing guitar rather than bass, and it was a different style of recording because every engineer is different. You don't know whoever you're going to be working with, how they're going to want to approach a project. But he was super, patient and understanding with a bunch of recording newbies, and he was probably like, not only was like the whole work experience like relatively painless, and we learned a lot about not only just like how the recording process is going to work, but how our playing is,
Yeah.
like I don't know if you've ever done any professional recording yourself.
Oh no, definitely
Um,
not.
well, you
No,
never know.
I'm a big newbie with that sort of thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I still am too, I think. But think like subtle things like about one's playing, like when you simple like extra noises and ring outs that you'd never really notice when you're just practicing.
Mm.
Things like that shine through, and like when you think like, oh, I've got the song down pat, I'll be able to bang this out in maybe like a little in a couple of takes, and you go back and listen, and you're like, oh, that I didn't realize that was there, and you start to pay attention to stuff like that more. It was eye opening, and the guy was like right on the same level with us. I say this because I think our buddies in Fires in the Distance also said this. He's like the unofficial like fifth member of the band is Dave. He was just right there with us, and I couldn't be happier. And we're definitely going to work with him again for the next one without a doubt, because it was just such a positive experience. And now that he's got his new studio set up in North Carolina, it will be a bit tougher because we're probably gonna. It's a bit of a drive from us, but I think it'll be worth it to work with him. But yeah, recording it like before lockdown and then having to finish it up during like the beginning stages of lockdown is what we ended up having to do, and it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. We were, I think we were all still we were all on edge because of like the novelty of the virus, and I know Dave was very, 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 very careful. And I mean, we were very open with him about everything. Like, yeah, we're all good. I had a personally, I had a scare like a month before I met with him, and I was very open with him about that. But I was like, yeah, I tested negative. I just happened to have a exposure scare, but I'm all good. All of us have been super careful, and it was great. We managed to finish it up, bang it out, and could not be happier.
Cool. Yeah, because I suppose that's the issue when they sort of. I mean, I don't know what it's like in America, but sort of over here, sort of opening things up. It's kind of, even if you get just a general kind of cold or anything, it's kind of you have to get tested, and it's just a pain in the ass, really. Just try and do anything. So I can't imagine what it's like with
right?
Yeah, UK, yeah.
Yeah, see, so you guys actually locked down though. Like you had an actual lockdown. America kind of had like a half-assed one. So they're like, "Oh yeah, here's some guidelines, and certain businesses can only do this," but it wasn't like an actual hard and fast. Like you have to be locked down. You cannot leave your house for like more than letting the dog out or shopping or work or whatever if you're essential. Like it was a half-assed lockdown, and honestly, with the way they're handling things now, it's still a very half-assed way of handling things. I
Yeah,
have
I
I have
think with
no
us it's
faith
kind of
in.
like
I'm
it's
sorry.
a proper lockdown, but then it's like they're really quick to try and come out of lockdown, so it's just as problematic, I think.
Yeah, no, I think everywhere's just been messing this up.
Yeah,
um, yeah, over here I'm not confident with anything, and just recently they're like, oh yeah, honor system on if you're vaccinated and if you have to wear your mask, and I go, my first thought was like, what the fuck are they thinking? Um, like, what do you mean honor system? We've seen people lying about everything and faking vaccine cards, and you want them to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally vaccinated without a mask. Like, come on.
yeah. So how have you found? Obviously, you're making new stuff at the moment. How have you found it with how it is at the moment? Sort of, is it? Are you still in lockdown, or just it's kind of half and half, like we are?
Yeah, no, it's definitely half and half.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we had a show. I think it's about a month and a half ago now. There was an outdoor show that we were doing that was supposed to be like very socially distant because we did the same thing last year and actually worked out really well. Nobody got sick and we were all pretty safe. It was just kind of weird. This one was great because I think more people knew us. We were a bit more out there, so had people actually there for us, which was nice. It was a warm feeling, but it was also like right before they lifted a lot of the mandates. So, they opened up like a little bit because initially it was like a hard and fast, like, oh, only 40 people allowed in sit down room. And then there was like, well, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to loosen it up a little bit, let people have some walk ups, be a bit looser with some of the social distancing rules. And then now we see all these shows and tours being announced.
Mm.
And, and on the one hand, like we're trying to, because I'm trying to be realistic, even though it just comes off as pessimistic about this whole thing. So with me, as much as I want to play shows and we have one slated for September, at least definitely, I'm kind of like, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and start like booking more consecutive dates outside of the state or whatever in case things shut back down again. Cause I just have a feeling that that's where it's going to go, especially with this whole like mask optional thing. But as far as like, working on stuff now and trying to get things out now, I'm kind of trying to be I'm trying to be like hopeful, I guess. I think more or less I think I'm just gonna buckle down and try to get more work done on the next EP or album's worth of material before we think about really like committing more to playing more live shows. I definitely want to do that before ish hits the fan, so to speak. But it's tough, especially with all of our schedules too. It's tough, and we're all vaccinated. Um, we were all double shotted, ready to go. Like so, we're at least going to be safe. But it just remains to be seen, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of just wait and see at the moment, isn't it? For
I mean,
everybody.
yeah, exactly. For everybody, it's like that, and it's just I get it. Also, on one hand, because since we're on such of a small level of a band in a fairly small state, we don't necessarily have to rely on live shows and tours and stuff like that for income. But I know a lot of these bands who are they're full-time musicians. I don't know how much they have their day jobs, but they still have they had a lot of money invested in all those tours that got canceled last year,
Mm.
and all the festivals that continue to get postponed and whatever. And I get that they need to get out there and make money and work. Patreon can only do so much, and don't people only have so much money to throw at someone while they're streaming before it's like, you know what, I think I want to eat this week. So,
Yeah, you can't just
and I
keep
mean,
on
more power.
relying, like a
No, exactly.
endless pit of money from your fans and your yeah,
Right, like it's not like these fans, haven't are at risk of losing their jobs either, which
exactly,
that's a
yeah,
whole different conversation as well. But yeah, we're just trying to make do, man. I guess I want to try to stay hopeful, but I'm also trying to be realistic about things with how they're opening up around here and the state of everything now with the supposed new variants coming up and starting to take hold. And yeah, it's well, ignorance is bliss, but unfortunately, I was not blessed with that.
yeah. Just have to keep our fingers crossed that things will get back to normal very soon.
Man, I've been hoping. I've been, playing that one show last month was probably like one of the best things that happened to me in the past year.
Yeah,
Because it's just, I don't know, man. When you play live, you get like an itch after a while to do it more and more. And that like one little bit, like even though it was like a full live show experience where people are up close and actually having fun, and I can have more crowd interaction as a
mm.
front person, if you will.
More mosh
Um,
pits,
yeah.
bigger
Well, there
ones.
was one guy he was starting to, he was getting into it. I was like, oh shit, this might actually pop off. But we did have, I've seen a couple of videos of local shows in indoor venues that had pits and everything, and I go, that's great. I'm glad you guys are having fun. I just wish that there wasn't this looming risk of this all being taken away again. Ah,
Um, so yeah, I just want to kind of take it back to the talking about the EP. Just wondered if you had any sort of particular favorite songs on the album, um, or any ones that sort of just stand out for a particular reason.
yeah. It's tough because each one of them has like a weird, different meaning or like feeling to me. I think probably the one I enjoy playing live the most is "Death of a Judge,"
Oh yeah,
because like I mention it a lot, and I think in other interviews and in the press release and everything that a big influence on me was Arsis, and still is Arsis. And so like I felt that Death of a Judge is kind of like my me trying to basically ape Arsis as much as I could. And I mean, it's just a fun song, and the song's basically based off of a short story called "The Death of Ivan Ilyich" by Tolstoy. And it has this like one, it's based off of this like one brief moment where the main character, spoiler alert, he dies. um he's dying and he goes through this existential crisis, and for some reason that kind of stuck with me, so I had to read it in college and use it as a unit for my minor, and it just always stuck with me. So I'm like, you know what, I gotta use this in a song because this existential dread is too badass and depressing and dark for me not to like use this in a song at some point. And so it's just one of those things like I'm happy with how the lyrics turned out because that's something I'm kind of self-conscious about is lyric writing. I'm not the best. I'm not a poet. I just kind of try to make it work in the best way I can. Um, so that one I think I'm the happiest with the lyrics and the musical direction with like the how the guitar riffs came out to be, and even that orchestral break. I'm actually personally proud of being able to do that because like every other metal guitar player, my theory is not the best as not as nearly as good as it should be or could be. And the fact that I managed to pull off like an orchestral, a basic orchestral like accompaniment to like guitar chords just makes me feel like, hey, maybe I can do this music thing after all. Death of a
yeah,
Judge though is always a really fun one to play live, and it's just always a fun one just to play.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad you picked that one because that's probably yeah. I think that one's my favorite of the EP actually. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
I think I think
that's
it's
a
I think you and I are the only ones.
because I think that's the one with like a really big meaty breakdown in it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. And
that's the one.
I'm I used to be like super opposed to breakdowns, really. Like I was that kid in high school.
Yeah,
Um, I took Gore Not Core a bit too seriously. And I've lightened up as I've gotten older, because like being an edgelord 17-year-old metal elitist is not a personality trait, nor is it one I really want to have. So it's like
Yeah.
I've kind of loosened up on breakdowns, and I think that contextually they can work. A breakdown as a song doesn't work, but like in that one, I feel it worked out really well. And same with the one in Seeking My Own Son. That one
Yeah.
I was relatively happy with.
Yeah, because listening to those two songs, it's kind of like you don't really expect them, which
Right.
is why I think I kind of, even though I've listened to the EP a few times and I know what's coming, it's still like, yeah, it still has that kind of effect. Wait, you're being led into something, but you're not quite sure what it's going to be, and then it's like boom, you're like wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's personally to me, I think that's how breakdowns should be. I think that you need to have it as like you have a build up to it in a song, but there's one breakdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you have to have it built up, and that tension and release done once and well done. And I mean, this is a thing that goes back to me being an elitist in high school. Is like because I grew up and I was in high school like 2008 07 to 2011, so that was like peak Warp Tour, metalcore, deathcore years. Like
yeah,
Suicide Silence was at its peak, and Whitechapel was really taking hold, and everyone was listening to Asking Alexandria and all those bands. And I'm sitting here like, it's just breakdown after breakdown, dude. Like, give me a riff. Like, doing halftime, then half of halftime, like, just because you go from regular speed to halftime to quarter time doesn't make it a song.
mm,
you know. Um, and I think, I mean, I kind of have that stigma today. Like, I still can't really do much deathcore, but I've definitely loosened up on breakdowns, and I think that they're not necessarily a bad thing. And I think for me personally, like being able to not only just like listen to that kind of stuff, but able to write it and make it, in my opinion, work well on those two tracks is it's an accomplishment. It's kind of like a maturity
yeah.
thing. I don't know. I'm just being vain at this point. Fuck, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm acting
fine.
like I'm this masterful songwriter. It's like I wrote one EP. No, it's just no. It's my opinion, I guess.
Yeah, no, for me, like I sort of agree with breakdowns became so predictable, um, in a lot of metalcore songs. Because I would say I'm a pretty big metalcore fan, but in terms of how it's sort of gone, it's yeah, it's just you put on a metalcore band now and you feel like you're listening to the same band over and over, a little bit, with the same
Yeah, I mean,
breakdowns, the same riffs.
yeah, and innovation's gonna stop at some point with everything. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like how well can you do a certain thing, more or less, which isn't a bad thing. Not everything has to be new and fresh and super innovative. Some trends are gonna reappear,
Mm,
but I definitely say like I think overall in terms of quality of songwriting overall, I think metalcore beats deathcore by a lot.
yeah,
I definitely find myself listening because I think there's more variety in metalcore. You know what I mean? You have your actual like metallic hardcore kind of sounds, so stuff like like the Chariot and stuff like that, where you get bands that are just like literally just like me- hardcore with a bit more metal into it. You get bands like Dead Guy and Converge with their skronky stuff. You can get your At the Gates core, if you will, with As I Lay Dying and bands like that, or whatever they want to call it, the new wave of American metal that they tried to rebrand it as for a while. Then neck neckbeardy elitists like me are like, it's just metalcore. It's new American. What is that? I don't know. I think just metalcore overall, like as a subgenre, has deathcore beat by a lot, just in terms of like quality songwriting, variety, uh, just overall fun. Just deathcore after a while just takes itself way too seriously.
yeah. I mean, for me with like metalcore, I tend to go towards like progressive metalcore now. That's where I see it sort of more. It's more sort of interesting and different things going on. But I think
Right.
like, you're right. It's kind of because there's so many bands now. It's really hard to for anybody to really sort of do anything really new. I
And I
just
think
think that's
that's
the way it
okay.
is.
There's only so much new stuff you can come up with in music in general. I think before it's just like how far are you gonna go before it's like literally just like white noise. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just there's only so much we could do to change and make things fresh. At some point, it's just gonna stagnate, and that's just the natural order of creativity, I think, unless some things are going to come back and it's going to be a retread, or maybe someone will have some weird new spin on music, but it all depends on what will stick.
Yeah.
It's tough. I just write my mellow death riffs like I want to write my mellow death riffs, and people like them, then they like them.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like striking the balance, isn't it, between something familiar and something that feels fresh, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what sort of albums are you listening to at the moment? Could be, old or new. Just interested what's on your rotation at the moment.
Right. What have I been listening to lately? It's kind of been a bunch of stuff. Like I'll still be buying records every week or so. I'll try to check out something new at some point. I think the newest thing that came out was the new Absence that I just got, which I've loved the Absence since I was in high school. I had a friend of mine show me Riders of the Plague, and that record just like, whoa, that was actually another big, fun enough, another big influence on the band and my writing style. They really came out really strong with the new record. I've been going back to kind of like bands that I that gelled with me when I was younger to kind of get I guess partially try to get my songwriting kick back. You know what I mean? Trying to really focus on that element of music. So I've been listening to a lot of but I'll go back to Depeche Mode a lot for songwriting kind of ideas. There's a Russian band called DDT that they've been around since I think like 81. That I've been going back through their discography a lot lately to really kind of tap into that, because they're just, I mean, they're a big part of my childhood because my family grew up with them and they loved them, and I've always heard their music, on vacation car road trips and just at going to places my dad would have them on and stuff. I've been listening to them, like I think a lot more Russian bands in general. I don't know. I got sucked into Eurovision back in like April, May, much to my girlfriend's chagrin. um, so I kind of explored that side of music a little bit, and kind of dove into a bit of Europop from the years, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They had some really kick-ass songs on there. Fun fact: apparently, I think it was the 2009 winner. I think it was from Norway. He plays like violin and has a song that won Eurovision. He also played with Keepeth Kalesen in Norway, and I was like, this is insane, because this is like he's a really good violin player, and he's just jamming with this amazing symphonic black metal band. I'm like, 2 years beforehand, you're on like the biggest Euro pop festival ever, and now you're just like, I'm gonna hang out with this black metal band and do a set. It was funny. But yeah, DDT, but listening to some of the Absence. I'm trying to go through a bunch of stuff like that. I'm trying to think what else I've been able to listen to. I got onto Amigo the Devil recently because I've always liked Tom Waits, because I think he's a great storyteller, on top of being like a really innovative musician. And I remember I was at my tattoo appointment, and Amigo the Devil came on the speakers, and I was like, this isn't Tom Waits. This sounds like Tom Waits, but that voice is way too smooth and not covered in rusted nails and whiskey to be Tom Waits. And I ended up asking my artist. He's like, yeah, this is Amigo the Devil. I'm like, oh, this is that guy. And so I bought the newest record, and I'll listen to that at least once a week.
Cool.
At least once a week I'll go through that, because it's just so good. It's really, really dark, kind of spine-chillingly dark. Not a very happy album, but just the way the music is written and how it's arranged, and combined with the storytelling aspect of the lyrics, it's just French kiss. He does a good job with that. I think those are like the big three. I'll kind of dip back into the well too, and then every now and again I'll just slap my iPod on shuffle, because I still use an iPod. And
Yeah, same.
whatever comes up I'll be listening to. Like I love my iPod. I refuse to use Spotify even though I have it. I just
Yeah,
I don't want my phone to die, so I have a fifth generation modified iPod.
actually, I don't know what generation mine is. I think it's a Nano, but yeah, I found myself kind of gravitating towards streaming recently, but I still have my iPod, and I still plug it into my stereo. Just I'm still holding on to old technology. Just I won't let go.
Right. I think I have about like I have 4 iPods, but like only one of them fully works. Um, I don't know. For me personally, I like having the MP3 player separate. I feel like the sound quality
Yeah.
is slightly better. It's not as dodgy. I don't have to worry about using data or anything. You know what I mean? And my iPod has all the stuff that I want on it. Like some things aren't on Spotify or app. Yeah, I use Spotify or YouTube or whatever. So it's like, well, I bought this record. It's like, or I have this like local band that doesn't exist anymore. I have their demo from like 2012. I'm gonna listen to this because I feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It
Excuse me.
still has its
So, like,
place.
Yeah. No, I'd rather like you listen to music from my collection than just like, this is what we're gonna let you listen to because we have the rights to it. Because I mean,
Yeah.
for a long time Carcass wasn't on there. I'm like, well, if I want to listen to Heartwork, I'm gonna fucking listen to Heartwork. So I'm not gonna let whoever Eric. I think Eric had the rights to that, and then they were the ones taking it down, and I think they just put it back up finally. But yeah, I'd rather just listen to my collection.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
the
sorry. Carry on.
no, I'm just trying to think of what else I've been listening to. Listening to Dr. Dre. I found a copy of The Chronic not too long ago, and I decided to dive back into that too.
Cool. So is
Been
there
trying to
some rapping on the next EP?
No, no, it's just one. Like, I wish I was that good lyrically. I just, but it's an exercise in songwriting as well with hip hop. Like the different ways that they formulate and play around the beat with the rhymes, with the hook and everything. Like, I can definitely appreciate that. Like I like A$AP Rock a lot because he definitely gets in there with the words. Like, you need to have a dictionary sometimes next to you with some A$AP Rock lyrics. But it's just the ways that they kind of work around the rhythms and structure the songs is a lot of the time it's really sweet. You don't get to hear things like that in metal a lot, and it's a nice break. I cannot rap. I believe no. I'll do high streak vocals all day, every day. But I will never be able to rap. No, that's just not gonna happen.
Oh, that's a shame.
Maybe one day. Maybe we'll start our own. We'll start our own new metal side project that's going to be way more successful than Svn Seeker.
yeah, I noticed that you've got some new merch coming out for Svn Seeker.
Yep.
So do you want to sort of talk a bit about that?
Oh yeah, we got T-shirts for sale, everybody. $17. No. Yeah, no, we're finally a real band. We have merchandise. This is also this is funnily enough part of a kind of a learning experience of being in a band, of the finances and organizing, because you'll see a lot of bands will like, oh, we have these bundles, everything's set from album release. But with us, we're still kind of learning, and especially with like the financial side of it, we didn't want to exactly start like throwing money at like, all right, well, we'll do a shirt bundle package with all this and that and vinyl and tapes, whatever, on this first release, because we don't know, you know what I mean? We didn't know how many people were going to buy it, if people were going to buy it, and we didn't know if like all of us wanted to commit right off the bat to dropping a lot of money on printing up like we did the CDs because I knew that people would want CDs, but like, do we want to really put money into getting vinyl printed like 7 inches? Do we really want to put money into getting shirts? Or who's going to buy the shirt? How are we going to get the design done? So this was a learning experience for us. We're happy to have them. We're happy with the artwork. We've been working with right now it's almost exclusively with Kalen Stockermans for artwork. He did the EP art. He did all the whole booklet, layout, everything on that. The only thing he didn't do was the logo, which we had a good friend of mine do. Phantom Forge. She goes on, her design company is Phantom Forge. Sorry, I didn't want to put out her name. But yeah, we've been super happy with that. We actually have more merch slated to come down the line. We have another design working with Kaylin. I have another local artist working on a design for hopefully for October. We'll have that design up. And I mean, we throw around merch ideas right now of what else we want to do. Like, I know I want to get patches done, some other stuff, but having merch it's one of those things that like it makes you a real band, because now you can see who wants to. So people will listen to you, yeah, and we're not entitled to having people like listen to us or repost our stuff if they like it. They like it where they like it, and then they show the support how they show the support. But like, especially in metal, like a shirt that's a big thing. Like, oh yeah, I want to wear that shirt. I want to show people I listen to this band. And coming from a guy here who has like 215 T-shirts in his collection right now, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we were following each other at the time. I think in 2019 into early 2020, I did a band shirt challenge where I posted up one band shirt in my collection every day.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because I remember thinking like, this guy's got more band T-shirts than I have like any T-shirt.
Yeah, I was 2012 and 2013 was like my big year for buying shirts. It was insane. I buy like at least almost like 2 per show on average, and then like a couple shows I buy like 5 or 6. It was bad. But shirts are big. Everybody wears the T-shirts. People like to show them off online. People go to shows and wear them to show support. And I just think like it's every band needs to have a shirt. But we didn't want to have. I didn't want our first shirt to just be like the logo.
Yeah.
I feel that because I mean, don't get me wrong, a plain logo shirt, classic. You can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But me personally, I'm like, if I want to buy a shirt, I want it to look cool. And I've seen a couple bands lately where they'll just like take the album art and it's literally just like a square PNG of the album art, no changes, nothing, just slapped on a shirt. And I have a couple of those, and I'm like, yeah, that's that works, but it's just kind of weird and like lazy. Like they went to the mall kiosk that prints like cheap screen print shirts and just like take this design and put it on that shirt, and they just sold that. And inherently, there's nothing wrong with it. But me personally, I was like I guess you'd call a shirt connoisseur. I didn't want that to be our first shirt. I wanted our first shirt to have at least something. And yeah, it technically is the album art on a square on a shirt, but it's done in black and white. It looks a little bit like there's a bit more effort put into it than just like literally taking the PNG or JPEG of the album art and slapping it on a shirt. It looks like it's actually designed to be a shirt.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Of course and one thing I've noticed lately that I really didn't care about when I was like younger buying shirts, but I guess I kind of care now more because I'm an adult, is the comfort. I've noticed a lot of people are like over Gildan shirts. I don't know how much you care about like the shirt that they're printed on.
Um, yeah, to be honest, I don't really think about that, but I do want to sort of say
Right.
like, yeah, I got a Silosis t-shirt and it was printed on the sort of like the ethical kind of material, and it's
Yep.
actually the most comfortable t-shirt I've got. So I was like, that's win-win.
Right.
So yeah,
I noticed that like through, I mean, yeah, discourse on Twitter isn't exactly like the most accurate thing, but I have heard a lot of people like complaining about like Gildan shirts because they're cheap and it's easy to like, print a bunch of them, but they are uncomfortable. They're not exactly true to size. Like
yeah,
one company's medium is another company's large, or another company's small. And I wanted like not only this shirt to have look like a shirt, but it's like if you want to wear it, like I want you to be comfortable,
yeah,
especially nowadays where everyone's a bit more picky about it, it seems. And even if they're not, someone will buy a shirt and it's like, wow, this is actually comfortable. There you go. You have a positive experience with your t-shirt. Because I mean, I'll fully admit I'll have shirts that I have in my collection I don't really like to wear because of how they fit or how they feel.
yeah,
Like I got two shirts from the band Mayhem that I from both times I've seen them. And like this is a medium, but this is like a small plus, and I'm kind of uncomfortable in it. Or like I saw Moonspell and I got a hoodie. I'm like, oh, this is definitely a medium. I'm like, no, this is a large. This is hanging off of me as a hoodie, and I can't really pull this off like I can with a shirt. We wanted to make sure that because nowadays with merch, especially with like the bands that are actually making money off merch, it's kind of like, it's more of like a branded like streetwear almost thing. Like you'll notice like bands will do merch drops. It's like, oh, this is our new drop. Like Wilderun just did a drop a while ago with like, four different designs along with the reissues of their CD.
mm,
That's their drop. There's that hardcore band Gulch who's like notorious for dropping merch in low quantities. People buy it up, and I'm sure it's good merch, and a lot of them are resellers. But that's the kind of way it seems like you have to think about it.
yeah,
And so I'm trying to get that mind on there, getting my mind around like, all right, well, we have to drop like quality merch, you know, at a not as like willy nilly and kind of like think about it more, which kind of didn't do us so much right now, but I think we're starting out, so I'm gonna use that as an excuse. But no, we
yeah,
merch is it's like the lifeblood of a band, especially now. Like, you have to have something more than just the music. People want more than just the music. I've noticed. People want the kitschy stuff. Like initially I thought I'm not gonna waste money on getting koozies and lighters and
mm,
stuff like that made, but people want that stuff. When mugs, but the mug has to be cool. It can't just be like the logo on a mug. You have to have like I have the Feminine School black metal Chud Tears mug, and mind you, my girlfriend and I have more than enough mugs, but I made an exception for that one because I can't not have that. But
yeah,
yeah, no, we've got a little bit of merch right now. Like we have stickers, pins, CDs, and shirts, but we're gonna have more. And it's like for any band, like merch is definitely a necessity, but you also have to be careful. You can't just like start spending money on merch. So there's the joke of like, oh yeah, like the Sanguisuka Bog joke. I'm like, oh, this band has a 1 4-track demo, but they have literally 40 shirt designs, 3 flags, and anything else you could ever wish for a band with literally like a demo and a full length. Like
yeah.
I don't know about having 10 times the amount of merch as you have material. It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a good business model to go on, to be honest.
I mean, for some bands, it could like apparently it works for Sanguisuga because I have seen a lot of their merch around, and I'm sure it makes numbers. But it's like
Yeah,
they're the only one. You don't really see a lot of other bands like being able to do the same kind of thing of like having 8,000 different shirt designs or variations of a shirt design with like one album being able to like have that be viable because
yeah,
merchandise is expensive.
yeah. I think with them, it's obviously with the name. I think a lot of people talk about them because of the name and are sort of drawn to it because it's obviously quite a strange kind of name.
Yeah.
And they've kind of just built. I don't know. I've just seen a lot of reviews and I've not actually checked it out myself, so I don't know what it sounds like, but yeah, they just seem to be it's like not, I don't want to say gimmick because that sounds a bit negative, but you know what I mean.
So you
kind
can
of
say
like
brand.
Brand. Yeah, there you go. That's a much better word.
If you want to be nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, the band's fine. I saw them, I think, before lockdown happened. They played a venue near me, and they're energetic. I get the appeal of it. It's solid, like throwback to gross old school death metal. Kind of was like sort of in the vein of like Impaled and Exhumed. I really hope. Like, I don't think Ross Sewage will ever listen to this, but I hope he doesn't take offense that I compared Impaled and Exhumed to Sanguisuga Bog. But it's kind of like in the vein of like gross old school death metal, just like that old school death metal revival that we've had since 2018. That's already slowing down. It's that's their thing, and I get the appeal of it, and I dig it enough. I dig it enough to be like, this is quality, but like, it's just, I guess, every now and again you'll get that one band that gets more hype than others, it seems. Or there's that one band that really like is the big name in that kind of revival. Like, it happens with everything. You have your big names, then you have your like underrated gems, and then you have the thousands of copycats that just are left to float away in the wind.
Yeah, exactly. Where would you say Sun Seekers in that range? Underrated gem?
We're definitely newbies. I hope we're considered an underrated gem. I wouldn't mind that. I've noticed. I didn't know this until like I started being more active on Twitter. I guess people like to clown on melodic death metal, or at least at some point did, unless that's just a weird false narrative. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd hope like people have been liking us. We're definitely not on the level as like Stortren or anything like that. But I mean, hopefully people think we're an underrated gem. I think it's going to take a couple more releases for us to get a bit more of that like classification. I'm trying to think of like the best way to put it, because I don't know. But hopefully people think we're an underrated gem. I mean, I've seen people liking our stuff, which is that's definitely a move in the right direction. I guess now it just remains to be seen if they continue to like our stuff.
Yeah.
I think right now we're just like we're a plucky up and comer. We're the little Mac. I just hope we can make it up to at least what was the name? Bull Popinski? Soda Popinski, I think that was the character in Punch Out, the Russian one, who drank soda pop, but was supposed to be vodka drunksky in the arcade version.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, to be honest. I was kind of like, I don't know.
Oh no, I was making a Punch Out reference. I play a lot of video games. I collect video games, so Little Mac is like the plucky up and comer that you play as in Punch, and you have to beat all these other boxers. And
Cool.
I think Soda Popinski's like a little bit past the halfway point. He's like relatively difficult to fight, so I'm like, yeah, well, hope we'll at least be that level, like of a 7.58 out of 10 rather than being a 4.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all my questions. I did put it out to Twitter, but nobody kind of came back with any questions. So come on, guys.
No, that's all right.
What's going on?
That's all right. We're still new. Maybe the next time we talk, hopefully, we'll be riding off of a positive wave off of the next album, and then we'll have plenty of questions of like, oh, what's your shoe size, and what's the weird thing you do? What's the weird thing you do in bed, or whatever. I don't know what people like to ask. It's whenever you're like, oh, anybody have any questions for us? And I go, oh shit, how many people who are friends of ours are going to start throwing inside jokes?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be telling my Twitter followers off. So come on, guys, hit the team down.
Right. If they at least check out the EP, I'll be happy with that. Maybe next time they'll have some more questions.
Cool. Yep. So that's Means to an End, by the way. The EP name.
Yep. Means to an End. It's about dying.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Nikita, for joining on the show today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for listening to the Abrasive Noise podcast. Thanks again to my guest Nikita from Svn Seeker. You can check out the band's EP Means to an End on Bandcamp at svnseeker.bandcamp.com, along with all the new merch we talked about on the show today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on YouTube and liking the video, and also give us a follow on Spotify too. Thanks again, and see you next time.